I'm always looking for something, although I'm comfortable not knowing what it is. I grew up in Richland, Washington. There was no art in Richland. I think they actually actively made sure there wasn't any art around. I went to Washington State University. At that time, I met a circle of artists. That's where I met Gaylen Hansen, who became my mentor. He would be the primary influence in my artistic life. Before I met Gaylen, I really didn't know that artists, I actually didn't know that they still existed. I kind of thought art was a historical phenomenon. I knew pop art, and the reason I knew that was because there was a Life magazine article. The only time I ever saw any art were these little things like that, and I saw de Kooning and Pollock in the same magazine that I saw Rouchet and Warhol. That formed my aesthetic. After I graduated from college, I went to Seattle. Seattle was a terrible place to be an artist in the late 70s. So I thought going to grad school is one way I could get the hell out of here. So I applied to the Art Institute. They accepted me, so I came here in 1980. Phil Hansen was one of my advisors. He told me later, quite a few years later, that they really were worried about me. They thought that I was out of my element and they ought to send me back home or something. And I can see how, because I was really lost. But I came to a point there where I'd given up everything. I figured that, all right, if they think I'm bad, I'll just be bad, you know. It isn't gonna work, so I may as well just do what I feel like doing, you know, forget it. I started working with no concept or idea at all, started smearing stuff. And all of a sudden, I made a body of work that way. The ways I found to make form were very simple and easy. I would pour sometimes and just let the pour sit there. Sometimes I would close my eyes and smear something. Sometimes I'd focus on texture instead of shape. It was through the things I would see in the shapes or things that I would make that I would get my idea. If I saw something in particular, it would start my mind thinking a particular way, and then I would start seeing more of those things in the painting. People look at clouds and see things. Well, I have a kind of an extreme case of that, and so I can't really look at anything without starting to organize it in my head. I am looking for images, but they aren't rational images. They are something you might see only for a brief second. The memory of that recognition remains, even though you can't find it. If you look at the painting in this rational, linguistic way of thinking about art, I try to create relationships in the paintings that are odd enough to not have a good explanation. And usually if you put enough things together that don't have a good explanation, then people will create their own. And that, to me, is what I would say I'm trying most to do. Later on, I became obsessed with this duality in people's mind about figurative or representational and abstract. That, to me, has always been a false dichotomy because both those aesthetics reside quite comfortably in tandem in my head. So usually when a painting of mine is missing something and it doesn't have both of those elements to some extent, it's probably because it's that one element that's not challenging the other one. It's that opposition and dichotomy. I have these strings of words, thoughts. That's my literary form, is titles. Once you understand the power of words, you don't need a lot of them, you know. I just think of it as a haiku -6, something like that. It is kind of a dumb pun. A smoking hole would be a mouth for a smoker, as opposed to a hole that has smoke coming out of it. I liked that duality quite a bit. And it was funny. Humor can be hard to come by, and so I needed some levity at that point. My paintings Many of them evolve over a number of years. And it's not by plan, it's because I get them to a point that is almost finished. But almost is the key word there. And I have to accept, given the way that I work, that I would ruin the painting if I didn't allow it to become anything. I never know when a painting is done. It's one of those things that has bedeviled me from the beginning. It's part of the deal when you start paintings without preconceptions.